It seems like the CS market is finally back to normal. In the past 24 hours, we aren't seeing too crazy price action, maybe like 1 to 2%. Some items up slightly, some items down slightly. Nothing too crazy, but I want to talk about how this might be a little bit misleading and how you shouldn't be rushing back to buying, because I almost made a mistake like this too. Prices are still up immensely over just the past 2 months. So let's look at some of the long-term charts. Let's start by looking at the Karambit Rust Coat and all the other skins and what you should really be doing with this information. The Karambit Rust Coat, only back in 2020, was like $185, and that price seems so ridiculous today because it's like $900. Now, looking at this chart, and this is deemed the all-time chart because this is the farthest that these charts can go back, seems like a great item to buy. It just went parabolic, had a crash a little bit, went from $600 to like I guess like 400, and this was post initial CS2 hype, which is a thing that I reference a lot when the entire market pretty much crashed after this initial uptrend, and it came back to, I guess we could call it pre-hype levels. Of course, it didn't come all the way back down, and I'll talk about why shortly, but then got back up this level, consolidated near all-time highs, which is something you really like to see and is a sure sign that something's going higher in price. And now we've gone through the same thing again. It's gone through the same uptrend, and we could very well see another massive pullback. Now, of course, things are slightly different this time around because there's one, way more players, and two, the cases are way more expensive and being unboxed way more. Of course, I've shown you guys these charts a million times. We could literally look at any case. I'll look at the glove case because, I mean, I don't know. You could look at any case in the market to just emphasize this point. Clear enough, cases blew up, and they're probably going to start consolidating very soon if they're not already. It seems like the glove case already is at these levels. And note, these levels are slightly higher than they were previously, as a lot of cases got taken off the market or unboxed during this time period. This video is sponsored by Skin Club. Skin Club is a CSGO case opening site with an honest and provably fair system to ensure you're getting the best results. They also have daily cases where you can win crazy prizes every single day for completely free. And if you ever get a skin you don't like, you can take it to the upgrader to turn it into something better. Of course, they do offer normal case unboxings, battles, and shared battles as well. So if other players pull, everybody gets rewarded for it. With the current Age of Mythology event, you can unbox limited time cases and use tokens you earn for completely free items in the item shop as well. Skin Club also has every single deposit method you could want, including PayPal, cash, crypto, and skins. So be sure to click that link at the top of the description for a free 7% deposit bonus today. Now, the Karambit Rust Coat is kind of a rock solid item. It doesn't have too much crazy price action. I know this might seem absolutely insane, but the rest of the market pretty much did the same thing. And since cases got to be so much more expensive, it makes sense that some of the quote-unquote cheaper knives in the case are going to be, increasing in price as well and going to be maintaining them. Now, does that mean you should essentially be buying at all-time highs? I don't think so. I think you should still be waiting. As we saw the last time, these moves don't happen in a day. You aren't going to see it massively run up and then massively crash in a day for most items, specifically with something rock solid like the Karambit Rust Coat that people just use as a play skin. With these items, you're going to see a lot more strung out moves. It'll reach its top, settle down a little bit for like a few weeks or a month, have another drop, get bought up, and then eventually come back down to the pre-hype levels. And I think we could very well see that this time around as well. Starting to see that little bit of consolidation just bouncing around in price, and it could very well just slowly drop off more and more as more people realize, hey, I bought this thing for like $300 like a year ago. I could kind of sell it and make a bunch of money. So that could very well happen over a longer period of time. Now, of course, it's pretty much the same thing with any item you look at. This is the Karambit Ruby, pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum, a very, very high tier item. This chart only goes back like 2 years, by the way. It's very hard to find long-term charts on CS items, but here we are. Had this massive run up in price, bounced around and did some random garbage for a bit before coming back to pre-hype levels. And you could see, let's look at it from peak. Peak was on 421 and it bottomed out on 1121. That's 7 months. It took 7 months for this thing to bottom out. If you're looking for an absolutely incredible entry, you shouldn't be in a rush. You should be looking at items that came back down to the pre-hype levels. And I've covered some of them in past videos, like the M4 Blue Phosphor, for example. There's plenty of examples, and I'll show some other decent skins as well. But once again, even crazier this time around. Last time it went from 6K to like 11K. This time it went from 18K, or sorry, 8K to like 19K at most. Yeah, so it's just crazy. And once again, we're probably going to see a massive pullback even more. Going to see this thing bounce around a lot in price. People are like, oh, it dipped a lot. Let me buy the dip. And then over the long term, there's going to be a bunch of people taking profit. It's the same with so many items. Karambit Marble Fate, here's another example. Run up, bounce around, pre-hype levels, consolidate, run up, bounce around, and what's next? Probably some pre-hype levels once again. And that's where you buy. Now, some items I want to cover are a lot different. Maybe not a lot different, but somewhat different. The M4 Howl, for example, it's got this massive run-up. It consolidated here at around $1,700 for a while. Had this run-up, and now, suddenly it's at $2,500. Run-up again. Suddenly it's at like $3,500. Run-up again. Suddenly it's at like $4,500. Some of these high-tier skins can do this because a lot of people just hold them for a long time, so they actually maintain the price after a hype spike. Well, sure, people are, I mean, once again, if somebody's comfortable buying like a $4,000 to $5,000 skin, they don't care about a few $100s in price fluctuation, and that's why these skins sort of do this. The Dragon Lore is an even better example. $2,000. Spike, consolidated 3,500 like the Howl. And note, it's also climbing up in price this entire time as well, which kind of furthers the point that when people buy these high tier items, they just hold on to them for a long time, and price action doesn't really drag them down. As player count increases, there's more demand, more people buying them until they run along with the rest of the market with the hype spike. And then this crash isn't so bad, from like $7,000, I guess to $5,000, that is kind of bad. But then consolidate again, this time at $6,000, run up to about 8,200, and now it's very possible they'll just consolidate at like 6,500 or $7,000. I have one of these. I'm holding it. I don't care what it does because this long-term price trend is one of the best things you can ever see ever. And if you're selling something like this, you've got no reason to. There's really no reason to. The only reason would be if you think the game's going to die, or if you think they're going to come back in circulation, which they aren't unless Cobble gets added to the active like drop pool again, but I don't think that's going to happen. And either way, that would only mean souvenir dealers come back in the game, but I don't think that's going to happen either way. So long-term uptrend in this item, I'm very comfortable holding it. That's kind of why I want to Howl as well, because it's like the mini version of this. I might have got kind of greedy. I think I could have got one of these for 4,300. That was kind of a fine spot to buy. Now looking back at it, $4,000 would be great. I had a guy DM me and ask, he's like, I bought this for 4,500. In 2 to 3 years, can I sell this thing for a profit? I'm like, yeah, dude, you could probably sell it for profit in a few weeks. But yeah, like these high tier items, they're just so sought after. So they're good to own. They're good to own if you want to play the game for like 3 more years and just hold on to it and have a cool skin to use, and it's all great. With the lower tier items as well, like the M9 Fade and the Karambit Marble Fade, as I covered earlier, they go through these hype spikes, they come all the way back down, and then they consolidate again. The M9 Fade at $2,000, not a horrible item to buy at this price, to be completely honest with you. Sure, can it come back down to like 1,700 maybe? Sure. But I think during the next hype spike, it's going to run up even more. It's going to be a great item to buy. Cases are going to get more expensive. Every single thing is pointing to this thing going up in price long term, as is everything with this entire market. It's just such an obvious price to buy, or maybe not an obvious price to buy, but an obvious like chart to buy. It just looks so good, and the cases are going to keep increasing in price, which means everything's pretty much going to get more expensive long term. And then finally, the Butterfly Fade as well, which I put in here pretty much just to show you guys what happens when the case gets more and more expensive. Of course, this thing is in the breakout case, just parabolic uptrend, come back down in price, consolidate, run up, and then consolidate again. Now, the breakout case is kind of getting to the point where it's like a bit too expensive for people to be unboxing consistently, so I'm not really as big of a fan of buying something like this. It is like $11 at this point, but I mean, people are still willing to unbox it, and as long as it keeps going up in price, that's gonna stay the same. This is kind of at the point where I wouldn't buy stuff in the case, me personally, because I don't think there's going to be a ridiculous amount of demand to unbox a case at $11. I think it's just too crazy. That's why I like the Prisma case knife. Those cases are only in like the $1 to $2 range. The Gamma cases are still like $5 to $6, which is fine. Sure, it's expensive, but people could still bring themselves to unbox it. And those are the personal cases that I look at. I'm not even looking at gloves because, once again, same point. $16 case, broski. I like the cheaper stuff that has more potential to run to extremely high prices. I'm not really a big fan of the expensive stuff that's already really up there in price. And sure, can it run higher? Great, but I'd rather stick with the cheaper stuff. And at most, I'd buy like a Howl. But I still think there's much more potential in the cheaper stuff. Going back to the Karambit Rust Coat, if you just buy stuff in the cheaper cases, in just 4 years, you've quadrupled your money. Good luck finding that return in any other market anywhere in the world because it's not very possible. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope this was informative. Check out the sponsor with that link at the top of the description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.